All right, thanks for tuning into my new YouTube channel. Although I can't really call it a new YouTube channel because I think I've had it around since 2012, but as you can see, not very many videos into this, and we're kind of roughing it, going with the very organic look. So including, I guess, the organic plants behind me. Just some 49er stuff, a couple of busy days, a busy week for the 49ers. A couple positive news things from the 49ers standpoint and from the players that were looking for new contracts. Those guys get rewarded. Obviously, one of the worst stories, kind of a pit in my stomach covering that story on Saturday. Ricky Pearsall shot during an attempted armed robbery. However, that turns into a very positive thing too. John Lynch spoke on Tuesday about just kind of the miraculous happenings where Ricky Pearsall is shot in the chest area up here, so it'd be on the right side. So this side right here, and the bullet just went through, did not hit any vital organs, did not hit any bone, and it sounded as if the 49ers felt like there was a decent chance that they didn't even need to put Ricky Pearsall on the reserve non-football injury list, that he might be able to play before those 4 weeks. Now he's ineligible for 4 weeks, but in discussing it with the medical staff, John Lynch decided that and the medical staff decided that just best to give him time. Don't rush it. Also, he's still coming back from the shoulder subluxation, and now have this going on. So I asked John if there was any thought that 49ers might not get anything from Ricky Pearsall his rookie year. Might he be out for the season? Can they expect any contributions? And he said, absolutely. They're expecting him to be a fantastic player for them. And the one thing I just kind of like to stress is just how popular he is, a rookie coming in. Trent Williams talked about it, that, Trent was, he described it as he was in the offseason program for 30 minutes. And during that 30 minutes, he said Ricky Pearsall went out of his way to come over, introduce himself, shake his hand. There were a lot of things that happened in covering the shooting on Saturday. And I think as I presented my reports and tried to kind of set the tone for where I thought things were, one thing I think I kept saying was just that there's an optimistic feeling about where this was headed, even in the early hours of this. And one of the things that I also considered something very optimistic was that the 49ers team party, kind of their end of summer, end of training camp, celebrate the 53-man roster, that traditional party went on as planned. I took that as a very positive sign that enough people had spoken to Ricky and that he was doing fine, and there was no reason to cancel that. John Lynch, he shed a little bit more light on that on Tuesday, saying that that was one of the first things that Ricky Pearsall said to him at San Francisco General Hospital was, "What's going on at the party? Are you guys still having it?" And then speaking to some of the players in the locker room, they said that it was really a neat thing, something. It was just a big time lift to the players to have a FaceTime call with Ricky. He was in good spirits. Ronnie Bell told me you could tell how excited he was to see his teammates, and certainly his teammates were very excited to see him. So everything moving in a very positive direction with Ricky Pearsall. The day started with Trent Williams getting on a jet and flying back to the Bay Area to sign his contract. And the details of the contract, according to his representation, 3 years, 82.66 million. That comes out to 27.55 million for each of the final, or average for the final 3 years. 48 million at signing. And when I asked Trent about his goal in with this contract, it was just that. He said he wanted security. And yes, he's playing at a high level, but he's 36 years old, and he wanted the security of knowing that he wasn't just playing year to year, that he had done enough with the 49ers that he deserved a little bit more of, I guess, a vote of confidence, you could say, that that money that he was scheduled to earn in the future would actually be guaranteed. And so Trent Williams back in the fold. Brandon Aiyuk signed his deal last week to remain with the 49ers. He had a couple of kind of interesting things about, his approach to the whole contract situation. Brandon Aiyuk's on a deal now, including this year, 5 years, $134 million, including 4 years and $120 million of new money. But he even admitted that I made it a little more difficult than I needed to at the end. I guess that's in reference to uh, the contract offer that had kind of remained out there, hanging out there since August 12th. He signed it, I believe, 17 days after the 49ers gave him that contract proposal. And then he did talk about just the negotiations and how everybody approaches negotiations. And Aiyuk, who's kind of a soft-spoken guy, he said that how did he say it? Um, that sometimes you have to be the squeaky wheel, and sometimes is a time to be silent, other times is a time to kind of speak up. And he used that platform on that podcast and other stuff on social media to get the deal he wanted. Um, Kind of the bottom line, he said, ultimately, this is where I wanted to be. So he wanted to be with the 49ers. I think that ultimately showed, just like it showed with Trent Williams. And yes, there was acrimony along the way, certainly with Brandon Aiyuk, but now all is forgotten, I think. Brandon Aiyuk got what he wanted, the big time contract. 49ers got what they wanted, which was to have him under contract for 5 years. And as far as Trent Williams, I just never got the sense that it was anything but a professional situation. He wanted the security. The 49ers ultimately gave that to him. This is a guy, Trent Williams, who has spoken very candidly, very glowingly, I should say, of the 49ers football structure. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. Last year, when they signed their contract extensions to keep them around as the head coach and general manager of the 49ers. One of the first guys I went to was Trent Williams. And he told me, he's been in bad situations. He knows what it's not supposed to look like. And he really thinks highly of Shanahan and Lynch. And he said that his belief, his feelings about the coaches, the management, and the ownership of the 49ers is just unwavered, that he remains very confident in the direction of the organization and very satisfied with the professionalism and how the culture of this team, how they treat the players. One other thing that I think deserves to be noted too is last week I talked about Brandon Aiyuk's contract, and the big money really doesn't kick in until 3 years down the road, meaning the big money on the salary cap. And the 49ers on Tuesday reported something to the league, which they had done, which was restructure Deebo Samuel's contract to create $16.4 million in cap room. So what that means is they took a huge chunk of his scheduled base salary, turned it into signing bonus, and then you're able to spread out the signing bonus cap hit over the life of the contract. So what I said last week when the 49ers signed Aiyuk to that deal was that I felt like it was done in a way but it did not impact the future of Deebo Samuel. A lot of people early on in the offseason felt like, well, the 49ers signed Aiyuk to a long-term extension. That means the end of Deebo. And I just don't think that's the case. And I think that this salary restructure proves that. Because if you're going to be getting rid of Deebo Samuel a year from now, you wouldn't want to be pushing that money to the future, I don't think. I think you'd want to absorb as much of the cap hit now, keeping that base salary the same instead of pushing it out. So my bottom line is that, yes, the 49ers are going to have a lot of decisions to make, as they will every year. It started this past off season with Eric Armstead. They said, take a pay cut or we'll cut you. He said, go ahead and cut me. And he went to the Jacksonville Jaguars with a better deal than what the 49ers would have given him. They did the same kind of ultimatum to Kyle Juszczyk. And Juszczyk said, well, as long as you still keep me as the highest paid fullback in the league, I'll accept that. And that's what happened. So I think every year from now on, there will be guys that, might be released or whatever for cap purposes. There will be free agents that they aren't able to re-sign. And so, it will make it more difficult for the future. But I really think that the 49ers are not in a position where, with everything that happened this offseason, that they're going to decide on Brandon Aiyuk over Deebo Samuel, meaning Samuel's only here for one more year and then they get rid of him. Now, it means also that they're going to have some very difficult decisions. They're going to re-sign Brock Purdy. They're going to give him the big money contract. Where that falls among other NFL quarterback, that remains to be seen. But it is going to make things very difficult to re-sign guys like Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Talanoa Hufanga, and Dre Greenlaw. So that's where we are now. I think the 49ers can definitely keep Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel for at least this year and next year. And then beyond that, we'll see where it goes. So that's what I got for you. Again, thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel. And I know I read all the comments, or most of the comments. I didn't over the weekend, but seeing the comments, I know that people are like, hey, upgrade your this and that. And there will be a time for that. But right now, I just kind of want to dip my toe in the water and start this and build some subscribers. So if you're watching, please subscribe. If you're if you are a subscriber, tell a friend, and we'll take it from here. So once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again real shortly.